that is when you can say, I'm a product of my environment. My environment is affecting me. That is when you can say that. If that is not the case, it is more than likely you causing your own restrictions, creating your own restrictions, coming up with your own excuses to not continue down the red carpet, to not see your ideals play out, to not be who you say you want to be. If you really want to be who you say you want to be, you would accept the full script. You would accept the full storyline. You would walk down the whole red carpet because you know what's at the end. You know what's at the end. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Briel, and for those who don't know me already, I am a mindset and manifestation coach. I mainly focus on self-concept, self-discovery, and most importantly, self-mastery. And when you tie all of those together, the outcome is that you're able to manifest any reality that you desire. You are a product of your environment. I'm sure you've heard that quote somewhere at some point in your life, if you haven't said it yourself already. And when you hear a quote like that, it's not specific, so it's really easy to fall in the paradox of the quote, of that concept being a product of your environment. It's really easy to add your own meaning to it. It's really easy to misunderstand what that actually means. And today I want to talk about, what does being a product of your environment mean, and in what ways people misunderstand it, and how it affects manifesting the people that you want, manifesting the things that you want, but most importantly, manifesting the life that you want, and committing and choosing your self-concept. So let's break this quote down. Being a product of your environment, usually when you hear that quote, or someone says that your environment matters or how you act is based off of your environment, usually what people mean by that is that based off of your environment, you are unable or able to do certain things, act a certain way, look a certain way, or react a certain way. It usually has to do, the surface meaning or the meaning that you take automatically has to do with, your environment affecting how you operate, how you live your life, essentially. In certain situations, this might very well be the case. However, in other circumstances that are not those specific circumstances or situations, it's not the case. It actually has to do with you committing to your self concept. When we're talking about environments and how they affect or can affect you or your self concept, we have the instance where, yes, your environment is absolutely affecting what you can and cannot do in that moment. And an example of that would usually be when you're in a position where you don't really have too much control over your environment, and that's usually during childhood. And we've touched on childhood in actually our last video, talked about childhood, how, being raised a certain way can affect your self concept and your identity. And in this instance, we're talking about the environment that comes with childhood. And it doesn't have to be just with childhood, it can be in any other instance where you are hindered from actually being able to control your environment in a way that you just have no control. You are not in control at all of your environment. And we're just going to use childhood for an example. And we're not even just talking about the people around you and how they're affecting you. We're just talking about environment in general, like where you live, what you have access to, what you don't have access to, what you're able to do, what you're not able to do. We're not necessarily going off of how people are treating you when we're talking about environment in this case. So when you look at something like childhood in the instance of environment, you can then say that you're a product of your environment at that point, or that your environment is heavily affecting you or can be heavily affecting you, because you don't have much control over it at that point. Regardless of what self-concept you're in, regardless, of what you believe or who you believe yourself to be, if you are restrained by your environment and not able to do certain things or be or act a certain way, then that's completely due to the outside. It's not you at that point, it's the outside. Granted, yes, you can find ways around it, but sometimes it's very hard and nearly impossible. Sometimes some people, their situations are just sometimes impossible. You have to be careful not to confuse a restrained self concept with a restrained environment. A restrained self concept is going to kind of sort of mimic a restrained environment, especially if you want it to, which usually, if you're confusing the two, you kind of do want it to. You want to be able to blame your environment when in reality, in majority of circumstances, especially if we're not talking about being actually held back by your environment, majority of the time, what's happening is you have chosen a self concept and you are not committing to it by finding reasons and excuses. You're using excuses and reasons to not commit to your self concept, and you're trying to use your environment to do so. An example being, I can't record my videos. I'll just use that as an example. I can't record the videos, the YouTube videos that I want to record right now because there are people inside of my home and they're distracting me, or they're going to hear me. There's not enough space. There's not enough space to do what I'm trying to do. At that point, it's not the environment. It is you choosing to hold and find excuses to not fully commit to your self concept that you have chosen. Because if you've chosen to be someone that makes YouTube videos or videos, you're given the environment to do so. However, there's things that are happening that you don't necessarily like, but they're not holding you back. They're not restraining you. They're not actually restricting you in any way. It's just things that you don't like, things that are not your ideal. Then that is you just creating excuses not to. We're back at that 99.9% mark. You're saying that you're this person. However, you're coming up with these excuses to where you can't be this person now. And that means you're not 100% committing, which means the outcome of that is going to be you're not going to be the person that you say you are. You're not that person anymore. Because that person, if you really thought and believed that you were this person, then none of that would matter. You would find a way in an environment that is allowing you to do so. It may not be the most ideal environment, but it's allowing you to do so. You would find a way to overcome that or not care at all. You wouldn't care at all, actually. And you would get what you wanted to get done, right? So, in that case, if I'm wanting to film videos and my environment is distracting me, or it's not the most ideal, it's not as ideal as I'd like it to be, that is not my environment affecting me. That is me taking my environment and making it mean different things when it could mean other things. You could either disregard it, which we always say just disregard things that are not ideal, that don't go with your new storyline, your new self concept, or you can, find a solution. Find a solution. If a solution can be found, then it's not your environment. If there are any solutions to the problems that you face within yourself, within your actions, with your looks, with how you behave, how you react, if there can be a self based solution made, then it's at that point, it's not your environment. It's you creating your own restrictions. And at that point, it's you also not meeting yourself, not meeting your full self concept that you have chosen. You're not meeting it at 100% at that point. And that's going to result in not being able to see the reality that you want to see. It's going to make things worse, more than likely, because now you're creating excuses for yourself and you're not doing what your character would be doing at that point. You're not going to receive the manifestations that accompany being that person. You're not going to receive the manifestations that you want to see. You're not going to be attracting the things that come with that self concept at that point, because now you're focused on things that don't even matter. They're not supposed to be in this storyline. They're not supposed to be associated with this self concept that you have chosen or that you say that you want to choose. And so we really have to be careful not to mix up the meaning of you are a product of your environment or your environment affects you heavily, because yes, there are instances where that is the case. However, majority of the time when people are using this excuse, it is not the case. It is them using that as an excuse not to meet their full self concept that they have chosen, which ultimately would create these changes that they want to see and attract these manifestations that they want to see and attract. Being a product or being affected by your environment would mean something like you have no access to a camera. You have no camera and no one is getting you one. You have no money for one. You No one around you has one. And maybe you're just not at the age where you can even just get a hold of one. Like there's no way, due to your environment and your circumstances, there's no way that you could film a video, you know? And at that point, it's not your self concept that is choosing that, or that is not you choosing that and making that excuse. It is you solely being affected by your environment. And then we could even throw in, someone doing something or saying something to where it restricts you and you have no option. You have no option but to obey an order of some kind, or this whatever this person is telling you, such as a parent telling you you cannot record, you cannot do it, you're not allowed. In that instance, your environment is affecting you. Now, you may have chosen the self concept at that point, regardless if you're an actual child or a teenager or a young adult living with your parents. You may have chosen the self concept of someone that makes videos or that needs to make videos every day. And mind you, this is just an example. This could be anything. Now, someone that is in control, since you're not in control of your environment at that point, someone else is in control of your environment, aka your parents. They're telling you you cannot do something that is a part of the self concept that you are choosing to commit to. At that point, it is your environment. It is not you making excuses. You do not have the option to do what you want to do. The contrast with that being, if you're an adult, you live by yourself or you live with a partner or you live with your family as an adult, and you technically have control of your environment at that point. You can leave, you can stay, you can move around, you can say what you want, you can say what you don't want. Majority of the time it's way less restricted at that point. And in that instance, you begin to create your own restrictions. Even if it's subconsciously, you're creating your own restrictions at that point based off of, say you just keep getting distracted by people or things around you. That is no one's fault but your own. In contrast to, having a restrictive childhood, restrictive environment, now you're in an environment that is not restrictive. However, you are restricting yourself based off of excuses that you are making for yourself. And then we also go to childhood, and now we add in how you were raised, how you're being raised. However, you're being raised you're being programmed, your beliefs are being brought about, your assumptions are being brought about out of you, and they may or may not be aligned with who you truly are at that point. And so when we get into that, you're becoming a product of your environment at that point, because you may be heavily influenced by the people around you who you have to live with. And this is once again a restrictive environment, because you have no control over whether or not you're around these people, when you're around these people, whether or not you can listen to them. You more than likely have to listen to them, whether or not you can believe them. It's really hard to differentiate things in a restrictive environment, and that usually means that it's the environment causing the restrictions. And so someone could be, while this is happening, we talked about this last video, while this is happening, while your environment is restricting you, it could be restricting your self-concept as well, your identity. You could be being raised to believe things that go against who you actually want to be, who you actually feel that you are, who you truly are, who your identity is. And when that happens, you become a product of your environment. You begin to believe and act the way that your environment trained you to, the way it programmed you to. And so, in that case, you now become a product of your environment. This can change later on. Obviously, anything can change. We have the option to change our self concept whenever we would like. However, it cannot change until you relieve yourself of that environment, obviously. And too many people confuse that situation, those types of situations, with oh, I just don't like this. This is not the ideal environment for me. I would definitely choose to be somewhere else. However, I don't have all these restrictions, but at the same time, I have everything I need. But at the same time, and nobody is telling me what I can and cannot do, also. But at the same time, I just don't like how certain things are being done around me or to me, or just, I don't like certain things. And therefore, I'm just going to make an excuse and say that it's my environment, when in reality, it is you not meeting your self concept. It's you not meeting your self concept fully. And you have to be careful not to confuse the two different circumstances, because when you do that, you fall into the limbo state, which is in between, the self concept that you're trying to leave behind, and, the new one that you're trying to fully commit to, but you're not seeming to make it to. Because you have to think about it like this: whatever self concept, whatever person you want to be, whoever you want to be, the exact person, your ideal self, you have to think about, what would they be caring about right now? What would they be caring about? What would they be doing by any means? What would they not be doing right now? What would they not be caring about? What excuses would they truly make? Right? And when you actually sit with yourself and ask yourself those questions, then you will be able to tell what actual excuses are coming out from inside of you. And that will also be able to tell you how fully committed you are to this new role, to this new script, to this new reality that you say that you're in, or say that you're dedicated to, or say that you have shifted to. And it's hard sometimes. It's really hard to take accountability for that, for being that way, for making excuses for yourself. But at the same time, it is a growth opportunity. It's a way to fully connect with your new self-concept and fully commit to it, and which in turn is going to get you even closer, even faster, to the manifestations that you're trying to receive, the changes that you're trying to see in the 3D reality. And that's why I wanted to go over this today and clarify the difference in in that quote, and how it's understood, and how people can use it and kind of take it and run with it, and kind of damage themselves in their ability to manifest and change what's happening around them. Because you fall into these loops of excuses that it's your environment doing things or affecting you. And for that reason, you never see changes start to occur that go along with your new script because you've stopped. You've stopped at a part in the movie, in the script, that you should have kept going on. Your self concept that you have chosen would never have stopped here. They would never have stopped there and been like, oh, I just keep getting distracted. I can't do this, or I don't like how there's noise, or I don't like how there's not enough space, or there's just yada 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 yada, just a bunch of excuses pretty much. Your self-concept that you're choosing, if you're choosing one that's supposed to be doing what you're making excuses not to do, they wouldn't be making any excuses about it. They would just find a way to do it, especially if they're in a non restrictive environment that is not affecting them in a way that they cannot control or at least move around in. They're not able to find solutions in. If you're able to find solutions in your environment, even if it's one, even if it's not the most ideal to you at that time, at that point in time, you have to realize that you're on a timeline. You're still waiting for the red carpet. You're on the red carpet already, but you still have a long ways to walk down. And just because it's not ideal right now doesn't mean it's going to always be that way. Sometimes you have to start at a certain place, and it's probably not the most desirable place because if you think about it, if you were already at the end and you were already, that person and you already were in the most desirable state, once again, you wouldn't be worried about it. You wouldn't be worried about it. But we're in the beginning process, we're in the beginning of that journey 9 times out of 10. If we're not in the beginning, we're in the middle. If we're experiencing these restrictions, these self-made restrictions and these feelings, then 9 times out of 10 we're at the beginning or the middle of this journey of seeing the 3D reality roll out. It's all about the journey of seeing the 3D reality roll out. It's never about actually being that person. You are that person when you say you're that person, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of your skill set, regardless of how you look, regardless of your environment. You are that person when you choose to be that person 100%. However, as soon as you start making excuses to not be that person, then you are not that person, regardless of what the heck is going on and what's happening around you. If you are choosing to make excuses based off of a non restrictive environment that is not fully controlling you, and you have at least one solution to do what you need to do in, you are not being that person anymore. You are not fully meeting that self-concept, and now your red carpet, you're stopping, you're kneeling down on the red carpet, and you're not continuing your stride down. You have to continue your stride down because the red carpet has rolled out as soon as you choose your self-concept. As soon as you specifically choose who you want to be, the red carpet gets rolled out. However, you have to walk down it. It may be uncomfortable. The beginning, the first few steps are probably going to be uncomfortable because you're still leaving behind that old self concept, that old 3D, that old reality. But you have to stick to it and you have to commit to this new role, this new character, and keep walking down the red carpet. Because eventually, when you stop making those excuses, of course, when you stop setting those self restrictions, when you stop doing that, you're going to look up and you're going to keep walking down the red carpet. And guess what's going to start happening? Your reality, your 3D, it's going to start changing and it's going to go in accordance. The changes are going to go in accordance with how you see or how your new character would see reality and what changes would come with being that character. It's gonna start appearing. You just have to be patient. You have to commit and you have to be patient because once again, time. We are in the 3D. We have to deal with time. You have to. And you have to be okay with it because if you're okay with it, when you're okay with it, that is when all of the changes begin to happen. When you're okay with it, when you're fully fulfilled inside, when you have chosen to accept everything around you, regardless of what the heck is going on, that is when you have fully embodied this self concept. You are now this person that you have chosen to be. And you don't need to worry about any of the things that are not ideal right now, because regardless of what's going on around you that's ideal or not ideal, changes are being made that you cannot see yet. You can't see them yet. So you need to just stick to walking down the red carpet, and then I guarantee you, you will start seeing the changes that you are looking for, but you can't expect them as soon as you decide. You can't expect them as soon as you decide on who you want to be, because it takes time. It takes time. And as soon as you are okay with that, as soon as you fully accept that, and still continue to perform actions and think and say and be and embody this new self concept fully 100%, regardless of what's going on, you accept who you are, and you accept that you're just in the beginning phases of who you are. As soon as you do that, we'll start to see your ideal play out. You'll start to see your ideals of everything play out, because that is how it works. You attract. You are living out a new script. You cannot just hop to the end like just like that. Yes, you can fully embody and be the person just like that. That is what is happening. However, the 3D changes that come with it, this is not magic we're doing. This, we have to, everything in the 3D moves in accordance with the universal laws. So with that being said, you can't just expect soon as you become this person to just be at the end of the red carpet, the end of the script, the end of the movie, the end of the timeline. There's a whole script that you have picked up and chosen to live out. You have to be okay with living in the beginning of that script, the middle of that script, and the end of that script. Yes, the end might be more desirable to you right now, but you have to accept that that person didn't just smack dab get to the end out of nowhere. That character doesn't just automatically smack dab end up at the end of, ultimately your life. The storyline has to play out. The script has to play out. Follow the script, and it will continue to lead you to the end. It will continue to lead you to your ideals. And that is what you have to remember. Yes, your environment affects you. When it is restrictive beyond means, when you have no control over it, and it is influencing you in a way that cannot be controlled, that is when you can say, I'm a product of my environment. My environment is affecting me. That is when you can say that. If that is not the case, it is more than likely you causing your own restrictions, creating your own restrictions, coming up with your own excuses to not continue down the red carpet, to not see your ideals play out, to not be who you say you want to be. If you really want to be who you say you want to be, you would accept the full script. You would accept the full storyline. You would walk down the whole red carpet, because you know what's at the end. You know what's at the end. So why are you tripping? Hopefully, this was able to make its way to someone that can digest it fully and use it to your advantage. Stop making excuses. Stop creating your own restrictions. If there is at least one solution to your excuse, even if it's not the most ideal, if there's at least one solution, then it is not your environment. It is you. You are not meeting your chosen self-concept. You're not committing to it fully, which means now you're stuck on the red carpet looking at your shoes when you should still be walking. And that means you're slowing down your manifestations. You're slowing down what's being attracted to you. You're slowing down your 3D changes. And for what? Just do it. Just do it. Because you being who you say you are, you being who you say you want to be, that person, that character would just do it. Just remember, do not beat yourself up when you become aware of where you have been holding yourself back. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just learn, understand, and grow from it. Don't get stuck beating yourself up about it or creating even more excuses and restrictions. Just recognize it, end it, and keep walking down the red carpet. Keep following the script. And I promise you, your manifestations will begin to appear. The people that you want around will begin to appear. The 3D changes that you want to occur will begin to appear. Your ideals will begin to appear. If you are interested in one-on-one coaching to help you along your individual journey, your individual self-concept developing journey, your individual self-discovery journey, finding your purpose, your manifestation journey, being able to manifest who, what, and what reality that you want to see, to live in. If you'd like help with that one-on-one, I do offer that on my website, the option to reach out for that. My links are below for social media and previous videos. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel for more informative videos regarding self-concept, self-discovery, manifestation, mastering the self, mastering the mind. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like this video for me. Leave a comment if you resonated with this information with this video. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Save me from only myself. Can somebody save me? Can't keep on holding my breath. Better get this off my chest. Better get this off my chest.